Hi, so Matthew Pearson from Zone 1 Hearing. Another quick question about wax removal. A question we often get when people are booking appointments with us is, what method do you use for wax removal? Do you do microsuction? Now, I fully understand this because people have either experienced or heard about horror stories of other people when they've had syringing. I do recall one report I'd read covering several 100,000 people in Scotland, and I seem to recall the figure of 11% of people having had syringing had sustained some kind of damage to their ears. So I fully understand why people would want to avoid this. So hence the reason I think we do get the question, what method do you use? So we do actually use irrigation as one of our methods, but I'll talk to you about that a little bit more another time. So when people talk about microsuction, I actually think a better question to ask is, rather than saying, do you do microsuction? Because effectively that's just using the little sort of probe that we put into the ear to draw the wax out, would be, what method of microsuction do you use? So if you like, the absolute gold standard would be to go into a clinic and have a microscope in the facility, an operating microscope, and then use the suction device, having used the microscope and a little specular to push into the ear so you can visualize what you're doing. Now, what if you've got a portable system? So the next rung down is, in my opinion, the Voratech device that I've recently started using after a strong recommendation or a challenge from an industry colleague who'd started using this a little while back and just found it vastly superior to other methods. And having looked at what other colleagues were saying who were using it, they all seemed to think it was a great system as well. So how this differs from the cheaper generic Loupes systems that people can use is that both the eyes converge into one. So effectively it is a portable microscope. So if you've got someone who spends most of their time in a chair, they're bedbound, they're housebound, they're self-isolating, then what this allows us to do is to perform wax removal either in their office or home environment. Also, if somebody's about to have impressions, say they're having a home visit, it's just great to allow us to give that best possible impression by being able to take the wax out for them. So in my opinion, the best system after the microscope is going to be the Voratech system. After that, if the person is using loupes, then we had surgical loupes made, not cheap, several £1,000s, but the detail that went into them in terms of measurements and preparation, there must have been half an hour's worth of measurements and setting up. But do you know what? The Voratech system, even though it costs less, in my opinion, vastly superior, allows a much deeper view into the canal, allows you to go right up to the eardrum when you're removing wax. Also, looking statistically, I mean, this system's been developed since the early 70s, and apparently 90% of the ENT surgeons in Australia, where this originated from, are using it. So, I thought that was a big clue. And then finally, sort of the lowest rung of the ladder, I have heard that there are some wax removal practitioners who do microsuction literally just with a sort of a torchlight arrangement on their head, which is okay. They're going to see better into the ear, but like literally no magnification, no correction of any visual deficiency they've got. So I think the question would be, if the person is performing microsuction, what form of microsuction are they performing? And incidentally, I did try endoscopic, which you may have seen, and there is a chap called the Wax Whisperer did train me on this. So it's an iPod with a device that goes into the canal to help you visualize the wax on the iPod. I personally didn't get on with that well, and I've heard that from a few other colleagues, but again, there are some people who swear by this system. But certainly for me, if you aren't going into a clinic with a wall-mounted or a desk-mounted system, what I would suggest is the next best thing is this Voratech system. And to be fair, that's transformed the confidence of a whole number of colleagues of mine from what I've read. And certainly, I mean, I actively look forward when I see a wax removal appointment in the diary. I look forward to it because I know how much easier that's going to be. It's going to be a quicker and simpler process for my patients. So, I mean, we must have invested, well into 5 figures on equipment and training and consumables, etc. But it's just nice to continually refine that process and just know that we've got the best possible equipment to give the best treatment for our patients. So that's the advice. When you phone up to ask what method your audiologist or cerumenologist, ENT specialist uses, probably ask them not just microsuction, what method of microsuction they're using, because often we're going in after people have been in for an appointment and only had part of the wax removed, or they've seen other people in the past and had multiple appointments before it was removed, and we're finding in the vast majority of cases now we're able to do it in the first appointment and fairly quickly. So that's the advice. Hope you're having a great day. Please remember, if you've liked the content, we'd love you to like, to share, to subscribe, to press the bell for notifications so you hear when our latest video is coming out. And love to hear your comments. What methods have you had? Did you used to have syringing in the past? How was that? Any sort of scare stories? Any problems you've had? Any sort of any problems with microsuction? Some people really love it. I find some people, they're a bit sheepish. They move away as soon as you get close to their ears, but some people absolutely love it. And we've even got some people who are, if you like, our frequent flyers who produce lots of wax, who are actually on a regular subscription plan, which just keeps their costs down. So thanks to our consultant Dev Lal for that bit of advice. That's been very helpful, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you very much.